Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Advanced Selling Podcast, the longest-running sales training podcast in podcast history. My name is Bryan Neale.
I'm Bill Caskey.
We just called that the launch. We just gave that a name, didn't we? Hey, we're glad you're here. New listeners, welcome. Spread the word. Post episodes on LinkedIn. Talk about the podcast. Podcasting is obviously a really buzzy thing. It's all of a sudden, it's cool all of a sudden. We did it for like
it only took
12 years, and it wasn't cool. Now it's called like podcasts. Like, remember you tell people back in the day, what's a podcast?
Yeah.
Now it's like, hey, I'm starting a podcast. It's great. So we're glad you're here. We have a big LinkedIn group. So go to the LinkedIn group. There's like 13,000-ish listeners there that talk and get together and gather. And if you want some live coaching from us, become an insider. ASP Insider Program is alive and well. We meet the first Friday of every month. And that group is rock solid. That group is super supportive. It's really fun. It's Bill and I live. It's not taped or recorded. It's a really cool program. And all of you all need to be a part of it. That's all I'm saying about that.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, speaking of LinkedIn.
Uh-oh.
Excuse me.
You're not in trouble again, are you?
That.
No.
Okay,
No. Good.
Speaking of LinkedIn, we asked you this the last episode, and that is if you're in the LinkedIn group, go to the group page and give us some input on whether you would like to see Bryan and I on a Clubhouse event. We are giving some thought to getting a little bit more involved, active in Clubhouse, and we know a lot of our listeners are already on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
But we would like to hear from you as to, does that make sense? Yes, no, maybe, and then what topic you might want us to pontificate.
And you wouldn't technically see us on Clubhouse because it's an audio program.
Grateful for
you
that.
Hear us on Clubhouse, which is great because it means we can wear whatever we want.
Yeah.
Now, the insider's a Zoom call. If you become an insider, you actually get to see our face. We have to kind of dress up, do all that other stuff. Clubhouse, nah.
Dress up.
Dress up. Yeah, kind of dressed up. You said you had a story to tell me.
Oh, I do. Yeah. Sorry. I was thinking, is it Brian's turn? Is it my turn?
It's your turn.
I have twin grandkids, 4.5 years old. And, I don't like to tell a lot of grandbaby stories because it gets boring. But there was something funny that happened. And my grandson, Evan, and I have this thing that we do back and forth. You're my man. I'll say to him, you're my man. And he'll go, Papa, you're my man.
Oh, that is so great.
And I don't do it all the time, but just sometimes. And so the other day we were up in my office. The girl was down on the floor doing some painting on an easel. And Evan the boy was getting ready to grab this limestone race car that's a model of an Indy car.
Yeah.
And it's about 20 pounds. And I said, whoa, what are you doing? He said, I want to hold it, Papa. And I said, don't drop it. I should have said no, right. But I'm an easy pushover.
Let him experience life.
And he didn't have his shoes on. So 3 seconds later, boom, thing drops on the whole floor. And he didn't. Luckily, he didn't grab his toes. But I said, Evan, and I never get mad. I said, Evan, what are you doing? I told you not to drop that. He goes, I'm sorry, Papa. I said, go downstairs. Go downstairs. We'll be down in a minute. Your mom and grandma are down there, so just go down there. He goes, okay. So he kind of mopes over to the door, and he turns around and goes, Papa, am I still your man? Oh, God. I didn't know whether to laugh uproariously or cry.
Hug him. That is
all I could say was,
so sweet.
You will always be my man.
Oh, that's great. Makes me cry.
But I know. Good. It's like out of the mouths of babes.
Oh, my gosh. This is just so pure and raw, isn't it? Yeah. It also tells you where they were, the fear of like, oh, my God, dropping this limestone replica of an Indy car may have cost me manship with my grandpa. Like, oh, my God. Just that one thing. He's going to be in therapy when he's 38. It's like, I was walking across the hall.
But it'll be one of those traumas that he doesn't remember because he's only 4.5. But it'll be there.
Yeah, it'll just manifest itself in some bad behavior.
That's right.
Wait for TikTok to uncover it. That's a fun TikTok trend. Okay, so topic today. Practice. We're going to talk about practice today. And sales practice is a really interesting topic because so many of you listening hate it. You think it's dumb. You think it's silly. It's not real. That's the thing I hear all the time. It's not real. And you listen to ideas like we give you ideas like this, and you don't practice. And so I am a changed person around that. I used to hate the practice. And I used to not even as a sales coach enjoy practicing. I thought, why make people uncomfortable? Because, and over the last few years, with some help with some clients actually pushing me on this, I've decided that that's not a good approach. That I think we're in a performance business, and luckily, we have the ability with iPhones and technology, we can practice all the time, and we can self-evaluate all the time. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on just your philosophy of practicing, and maybe we can share some observations with you as our listener about how to reframe your thought if you need that about practicing. And if you are a good practicer, how to make you even a better practicer. And both will probably in this episode talk to both the sales management group and the salespeople, because both of you play a different role oftentimes in practicing.
Yeah. And I would say to salespeople, if you have a manager who doesn't do this, recommend he or she does this, because it's going to help everybody. Think about an athlete. An athlete doesn't say to his or her coach, you know what, coach, I'm not going to practice this week. I'm just not going to do it. I feel bored and I've got some other commitments that are important. No, a great athlete has a great relationship with practice. They love it. They get to hang out with their teammates, and they go to practice and get better. And so I think salespeople have to be adamant to their leaders is we want to practice. And maybe you practice on different things, and maybe not every meeting, but be a solution here.
Yes.
And the way you'll do that is just to make the recommendation to practice more.
I love that. The whole idea of it, I think, is that, like, the advice you gave is brilliant advice. And I bet some people are like, I'm not going to go to my boss and ask to practice. They just don't want to do that.
Yeah. But it's because role play. It's because we have thought of practice as role playing.
Right.
And I don't think role playing effectively describes good practice.
Right.
Sometimes practice could just be practicing on one little part of delivering your message or shooting a LinkedIn video. It doesn't have to be the entire sales process.
Yes. You could be practicing an email. You can write an email. You can practice follow-up emails and send them to yourself, or send them to a couple friends and see how say, hey, I'm thinking about using this as my follow-up email to our demos. How does it hit you?
Yeah.
Is it too authentic? Or just get some feedback from it. That's practice. Practice
That's
typing.
absolutely right.
Right? ASDFJKL semicolon. Practice typing. Remember that?
What?
That's home row, man.
Oh.
Typing. Right? You know how to type, don't you?
I do know how to type.
Are you a two-finger person?
No, I do. No,
Are you a hybrid typer?
I'm an 11-finger person.
You are, yeah. You got a good reach there.
But what I do, but you just opened up just a hornet's nest for me.
Oh, gosh.
And that is, when I go on Netflix or anything, why do I have to literally go letter by letter to search on something?
Oh, don't get me started.
Why is that?
It needs
why
to be
isn't
voice
there a
recognition.
voice? Yeah.
There should be. There should be.
And there was, on our old TV, we had voice, and that was easy. Now I've gone, and then some keyboards are ABC, some are what you just described.
ASD, the old school ASDFJKL semicolon. If anybody knows if that was home row, I'll give them $20. I shouldn't say that. Everybody's going to know that. But
okay.
The quick brown
so I gave
fonts,
you one. Yep. You give me one now.
Let me see. Like lament about something I hate about Netflix?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Let's get back to the topic.
Yeah, the topic. So I think you need to think about what practice is for. And practice is for trying new things and messing them up. Practice is not for perfection. Do not practice to be perfect. Don't practice to say it absolutely perfectly how you're going to say it. Try new things and say them wrong. And then try them again and try them again and try them again. I love more than anything when my clients are in the middle of a sentence and they say in a practice session, I don't know where to go here.
Yeah.
I'm stuck.
Let me start over.
I'm like, brilliant.
Yeah.
That's not bad. People think that's bad. That's good. I praise that kind of behavior all the time because it tells me the person is looking at practice the right way. I'm trying something new. I got the benefit of my refereeing business to watch, NFL team at practice, lots of them for hours and hours. And they do this all the time. Now they practice fundamentals that they know how to do. They also practice brand new stuff. And they're like reset, do it again. Let's try it this way. Let's do this. They're always trying new things in practice.
Yeah.
That's part of what it's for, repetition. So,
yeah, I would also say that if you're practicing something that is, let's say you're practicing presenting on a webinar, or presenting some kind of remote thing. I think it's also good, and I always harp on this, and I've just seen it work so well, is write down what you're going to practice.
Oh, that's good.
So, for example, let's say you're practicing the first 3 minutes of a webinar.
Yes.
And you just want to nail that first 3 minutes because that's when everything kind of gets set. And practice it, write it down, or transcribe it, look at it, make some modifications, ask then your boss or your compadre, say, look, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Do it. Have them, and by the time you go through about 4 or 5 iterations of that, you have nailed it. And it really hasn't taken that long. No. It's not like a 6-month process. No. It's just an hour.
No.
But now when you go to that webinar and you are dialed in for that first 3 minutes, no one can stop you. No. You're unstoppable because you have it, you know it, you can be creative, you can be funny because you know you've got a track that you got to get back to.
Yeah, the confidence that comes from practice is second to none. You will be so much more confident if you practice your sales process, your sales language, than if you just each time hop on there and go, okay, I hope this goes okay. You're constantly.
And every time it's a little different.
Yes.
And then you can't really correct.
Yes. I'll speak to the managers this time for practice. I think it's important that you facilitate a good environment for practice. And so practice shouldn't be over-pressured. You should contextualize it by saying this is a place to screw up. This is we want to try new things. I think coaches need to demonstrate also. I really do. In selling, of course, an NFL coach who's a receiver coach maybe isn't in the physical shape to demonstrate a route. But in sales, you got your brain in your mouth. That's all you need. And so I'm a fan of managers, and what I want them to practice and demonstrate in practicing is that they can screw up too. They can screw up. So I try to do this. I'm sure you do too. When you're saying something, I'll say, okay, what I just said is too wordy. Scratch what I just said. I didn't like that was too wordy for me. Let me try it again.
Yeah,
and I'll do
no
that.
one has to be perfect.
Never. No. But create a good environment. And here's the second thing for managers: practice with real scenarios. Too often we set up this generic. Everybody has so many deals to pull from to practice. Be the real deal.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I want you to be, X company. I don't want to say one, but I want you to be Procter & Gamble Bill, and I want you to be Bill Blair, and Bill's a GM, and he's been there for 15 years. He's a little hesitant to bring sales coach in, and he's kind of set in his ways. And I want you, as my buyer, play Bill Blair. That's a real person, by the way, at P&G, and be him versus like, okay, let's pretend you're a sales manager. That's too generic. Be real with it. Have real scenarios to coach and teach with.
The best scenarios you can pick that are real are those that are coming up.
Right.
So you've got a call next week on a Wednesday. It's a closing call with somebody, and you kind of feel like the last call didn't quite go the way we wanted it to. So tell us what happened, and let's role play it. And that way you get that nailed for next Wednesday. Now it's useful and relevant.
Yes.
And not just practice on some kind of arbitrary, conceptual, theoretical, hypothetical.
Keep going.
Yeah, I was at 4, and then I started getting inside my own head.
You're kind of channeling, some 80s rap people, 90s probably. You're probably more in the Eminem with the poem last time, and then that. I mean, I'm seeing it.
What is that? Yeah.
I'm starting to feel it.
I think it's the room.
Around.
I think it's the checkerboard.
Well, it's the music production center over there that we're calling that.
It's quite a
studio.
It's quite a studio.
Music
over there.
production. I've got a music production studio over there that A isn't set up and B hasn't been touched for 6 years. But one of these days,
my studio is the same way. But why are chords everywhere? I mean, notice that we live in a cordless society. I thought
my favorite Bill Caskey is, and we need a chord management system.
I mean, we need a chord management, and mine's even worse. But there's chords here.
Well, you do.
Chords here. Look at this.
That's good. That's kind of on there. It's not just flopping around.
Okay, I have another. I have another one for you because I think that's exactly true for the VP of Sales, sales leader. Is you've got to make it a safe environment.
Yes.
One thing that I would do after every role play is ask the person in the role play or in the practice, what were you thinking? What was the dominant thought there? When you said, I'd really like to serve you, Mr. Prospect, what were you thinking? And then you can come back and say, well, I was thinking that this thing is slipping away and I got to save it in some way. And that's when the VP of Sales should say, okay, let's change the thinking there.
Yeah.
Because that thinking, excuse me, that thinking led to the words and to the actions. And if your words aren't right, it's because your thinking's not right.
Absolutely.
But you can't always catch that on your own. You've got to have a moderator, coach, facilitator, manager there to say, okay, right there when you did that, what was going through your mind?
That's fantastic. That is fantastic because we always coach the mechanics, don't we?
We do.
We always spend the time in the mechanics, the language. We don't coach the thinking.
Yeah. And I'm guilty of that.
Yeah,
as a coach, I'm guilty of
good.
Well, how about if you say it this way instead of what was going on in your mind, because that's why it came out that way.
Absolutely. Yes. And why did you say it? What was behind that phrase, that statement or whatever? My last bit of advice is I think that the best way to get, if you're hesitant to practice, the best thing I recommend you do is to practice by yourself. Because these days, we have tools all around us. One of my favorite things to do now, and I love this. So I've got my Zoom studio all set up here and everything. I record my own Zooms by myself now because all my Zooms are recorded. So all I do is just start a meeting in Zoom, and I just start talking. And I use my whiteboard, and I hold it up, and I can go back and look at it and say, oh, my gosh, the whiteboard, the lights were reflecting. It looked like crap or whatever. And I never knew that or noticed that. And how can I change that? And
so what do you do then? Do you just play the Zoom for the people when they get on the call?
No, for me. Just for me. I just watch it myself.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
These are just practice sessions.
I practice myself. I write it. I hold it up. Then I go back and I watch it, just like I do my football games. I'm like, oh, man, I didn't realize it was making a glare. This is a true story. Pens. I switched. I don't like black pens because they're boring, but they're the only thing that shows up. So I was using a blue pen and a green pen the other day. I'm like, this sucks.
You can have that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Are you clean? Do you wash your hands?
I sanitize that.
Thank you. I'll have to sanitize it too. So and then you have your voice memo on your phone.
Yeah.
And you can play any recording into it. You can leave a voicemail. Practice a voicemail. Back to your point about what's happening. Oh, I've got to leave this customer this voicemail. Why don't you record it for yourself before you do that and listen and see how it sounds? Right? You got to practice by yourself. When I started with Bill,
hit send.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I started with you in this business, I used to spend hours, and people thought I was crazy because we didn't have any technology, on the whiteboard by myself with an empty room.
Yeah.
And then we had these big windows, and people would walk by like, what the hell is that guy doing in there? There's no one there. Does he know there's no audience? But I knew that's how you practice.
Yeah.
Right? And then you bring you in and bring a couple people in and do a practice session. It just keeps going. I do the same thing.
That's great advice. Yeah. And you can do that on video too. If you're practicing on, if you say my LinkedIn videos just don't look good, well, get them to look good. Get the right angle, get the right this, get the right lighting, get the right background, have the right microphone. And at some point after 20 takes, it'll be good.
Get a haircut.
Yeah, good.
Shave.
Get a haircut.
Right.
I've got to produce a Facebook video, and I'm getting ready to tell Travis I couldn't do it because my hair's too long. I'm getting a haircut tomorrow. Going to do it Monday. Yeah. So if you're not happy with it, you're not going to send it out and click send. So get happy with it, and the way you do that is to practice, practice, practice. There is no shame in this idea of spending a little time practicing.
None.
What is it in? What's the ratio in pro sports? They play 4 hours.
Oh yeah,
it's 4 to 40. I mean,
couldn't even tell you
what Bobby Knight said. 1 is to 10 is playing is to practice, or something.
Could be. That. Yeah, it's just
40. It's 10 times
at least. Yeah. At least. Because you also then there's film study, and I heard some stories about the NFL draft and coaches they're watching like film 7-8 hours a day on one player, evaluating the player, deciding if they're going to pick them. I mean, they're so into that. And we as professional salespeople, we don't need to stay up till 4 a.m. practicing. But good gosh, we got to do it once in a while.
Absolutely.
Right?
And if you have a 1 hour webinar or something you're doing, spend 10 hours practicing it.
Right.
We guarantee you'll be better at it.
Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 hour rule from Outliers.
Yeah.
That's what that chapter is about, that book. If you've never read it, it's a great book. Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 hour rule. Rant over.
All right.
How'd we do?
Practice,
Good.
practice, practice.
Yeah, go ahead. Take us on.
I liked it when you said your point number 3 there. I'm going to fact check this with our producer.
What was that?
You said point number 3 is if you don't like practice, here it is, just practice. But you said practice alone or practice in the dark.
Practice by yourself.
Practice in the dark with a candle.
Practice by yourself.
If you don't like practicing, just practice. Genius.
It's kind of like, do you do yoga? You ever do yoga?
Uh-huh.
They call yoga your practice.
Oh yeah,
and it's your practice, and yours is yours, and mine is my practice. So
and my truth is not your truth.
You're all wherever you are in your practice is where you are.
That's true. They do.
So let it be. Take rest. If you need to take rest, take rest. And my favorite part about yoga is you get to just lay there if you want to, and no one judges you. If you need to take rest, take rest. Just
I like the kind where we bring a pillow and all sorts of things. There's some kind of yoga mantra or meditation that you go through. And you're literally just laying there.
It's fantastic.
There's no stretching at all.
Exercise.
If you're not already in our insider group, go to advancedsellingpodcast.com/insider. Once again, make sure you go to LinkedIn. Let us know on the group page whether you'd like to see us on or hear us on Clubhouse. And we'd love to have you. If you're a brand new listener, just go to advancedsellingpodcast.com, snoop around a little bit.
Love it.
See you.
Bye.